guys, this is Dormouse03.
And I'm Iron Praetorian.
Welcome back to Ramblings of Mad People, Mass Effect 3 Edition. So we've talked a lot about the things that we disliked about Mass Effect 3, and believe it or not, we actually, I think overall, both of us think that Mass Effect 3 is a pretty good game.
Indeed.
Which just goes to show that, just because you have critiques about something doesn't mean that you think that it's a pile of crap. So, henceforth, we are going to be talking about things that we enjoyed about Mass Effect 3 that we hope continue on in the same vein for Andromeda.
Agreed. I would say one of my particular likes for Mass Effect 3 was the multiplayer. What little I actually played of it, because I got into the multiplayer pretty late. But you and I had a good amount of time to play through a few waves and enjoy ourselves.
Yep, I agree. I thought the multiplayer was really fun. I think that it worked very well as a kind of co-op wave-based horde mode
yeah.
type thing. Because the mechanics of 3 were quite good. They were fun.
Yeah, they worked well. You had a good number of abilities that you could switch out. You had a ton of different classes you could play as, depending on how lucky you were with the drops. Because some of those were fairly rare. But they at least, even with some of the more common ones, they gave you the ability to at least test out a few different play styles and find one that worked well for you with like what you'd played as during the campaign, or even like two classes that were probably like two of the campaign classes combined, so you could play as a long range but with a shotgun kind of loadout with a few different abilities. I can't remember what class I played as. I remember what class you played as. It was like that Krogan with a giant hammer. He was beating the hell out of Geth just because you could.
I had a couple of... I had an Asari biotic Vanguard type thing that I really liked. I liked the Geth Infiltrator, I think it was, that you could go invisible, you could cloak and stuff.
Yeah, I remember that one.
There were a bunch of different classes, and they added in a bunch of different ones that were cool. Yeah,
with the free multiplayer DLC. Which wasn't out of the goodness of their heart, kind of, in a sense that they kind of said they made it free because of, the problems with the main game, but really it was because microtransactions, they could make their money back easily with the microtransactions based within the game itself. So it was cool to have DLC for multiplayer that was free, but obviously they were still making their money somehow.
Right, and it was free because, and this is a model that many people have copied since then, I think this was actually one of the first multiplayers that had that type of model, where it was like, we're going to give you this DLC for free, but it makes it so that everybody's on the same playing field, and it gives everybody the ability to have new classes and things and new maps, and you want the new stuff that you get, the new weapons and the new skins and the new classes and stuff, and so then you're going to maybe want to buy the packs with the microtransactions. Or
if you didn't want to buy the packs, there was a good chance you'd at least get a couple of the new classes just by playing and having fun with your friends. Yes. So it's like, I don't need every single character in the game, but I just got this new Praetorian claw using... I can't remember what the class was called, but that was at least one of the DLC based ones that looked kind of cool. I think I got...
Yeah, I think I got a Praetorian class as well, but anyway, so yeah, the multiplayer was very good. And they are going to have it in Andromeda, and I hope that it's just as fun, if not more fun.
Yeah. If they can keep it as good as 3 and make it better, that would be great.
Yeah. Which kind of bleeds into the mechanics, which were, I think, a highlight of 3 for me. I think 3 probably had the best mechanics overall of any of the games. It played very well. It was a good third-person shooter. It had a nice variety of abilities.
And I think you also had infinite sprint, from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to just hold down A and run like crazy.
Mm-hmm. Which is very cool.
Yeah, I play primarily as a soldier, but I found the abilities of the soldier were actually pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to have grenades back again in 3, which had been removed from... Well, they'd been removed from certain classes in 2. Like, you could get, like, incendiary grenades and such, but you couldn't get the frag grenades like you'd have in Mass Effect 1. So it was nice to see a return of those to be used to get those sneaky enemies out of cover.
Yep.
And it also had a nice selection of, like, pick-upable weapons that had a limited amount of ammo in them. So, like, the Dark Star that fired, like, a mini nuke, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. And the Hydra, I think it was the Hydra that you charge up and it just went crazy. It was like...
Yeah. Yeah, it did have some of those good, like, heavy weapons that you could pick up and use
and the
for a
flamethrower.
limited amount of time.
I remember the flamethrower well on the Rachno missions.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely good at crowd control.
Yes. So, I think mechanics overall, I really didn't have very many complaints, if any.
No, I didn't either.
Yep.
I did like the heavy melee attack as well with the Omni Blade. And that you had different Omni Blades depending on what class you were playing as.
Yeah.
So that was a nice little addition.
Yes. So mechanics overall, really good.
And it was cool that, like, if you wanted to go full, I want a sniper rifle, shotgun, pistol, you could. But it would make it so that your abilities would cool down really slowly. So that it made it so that you weren't like a walking death machine.
Right.
So you could have, like, I think I went with just an assault rifle so I could get my concussive shot back really quickly. And I think I put Carnage on the character. But whether that was the original class, like, ability, or I just, it was one of the ones that I'd unlocked and was able to put on in a different playthrough. But that was fun. Yeah.
And I think the mechanics of having barriers and shields and armor and stuff like that you needed different combinations of powers or ammo types and stuff to be able to get through was cool. I mean, they had that in 2 as well.
Yeah, I think it was nice that they kept it.
They kept it.
For 3.
Yes.
Like, it definitely was more fun than the combat in 1.
Yeah.
1 felt very... I don't know, it felt very much like an older RPG.
It did.
Like,
it was that melding between the turn-based and the full real-time action.
Yeah.
And they hadn't quite perfected it yet, but 2 was much better, and I think 3 was a very refined version of the mechanics.
Agreed.
Something else that I really liked about 3 was some of the character moments, and I think that they had more interaction with some of your characters in different scenarios, right? So it wasn't all just talking to them on the ship. It was, you'd go and talk to them on the Citadel, or, have this moment where you did different things that was tailored to each character. Right, so with Cortez, you went and talked to him at his husband's memorial. With Trainer, you played chess with her and maybe let her use your shower.
With Garrus, you shot bottles, and if you were a Paragon, he would name it as his favourite place on the Citadel when you missed.
Right, yep.
And you could also, direct Joker to maybe trying to start a relationship with Edie or not, which was cool because it was nice. Because Joker, really, you only just kind of talked to on the ship. You never really talk to him anywhere else
Mm-hmm.
in the other 2 games, so that was cool to be able to go and speak to him on the Citadel. And then he's like, yeah, I'm claiming that she's my assistant VI.
Yep. I just think that you had a lot of good little interaction moments, and there was a lot of cool interaction between different characters as well. So if you didn't romance Garrus or Tally, they ended up together, which I thought was cool.
No, Vicarian, I'm only using you for your body.
So, I don't know. I just thought that was neat, and it was a nice progression from what you did in the first couple of games, where it was really just you talked to them on the ship in between missions, and then that was it, and there wasn't a ton of interaction between characters.
There wasn't really any kind of multiple interaction other than the diffuse situations after certain people's loyalty missions in 2.
Right.
There's also another one I like in 3, where I think if you have Caden alive, him, Vega, and maybe Garrus are all having a poker game in one of the game rooms, which I thought was cool. I much preferred that to Ashley getting drunk on her own. Yeah,
she was sad. She was a sad drunk.
Yeah.
So I think it had a lot of those good little character moments and more variety to them, and I hope that they kind of keep that going in Andromeda, where we get to have more, I guess, nuanced relationships with people.
Yeah.
You know?
A more diverse relationship rather than I'm just going to talk to you here and that's it.
Right. Or we're going to have these conversations, or like, I'm going to be nice to you and then you're going to want to have sex with me. And then if I don't want to have sex with you, then it's like we don't have a relationship anymore. Like, I didn't need to sleep with Garrus in order to be his best friend and shoot bottles with him and that kind of thing, right?
Precisely.
So like you could have a relationship with somebody without being in a romantic relationship with them, which was cool.
Agreed. I would say one of my other favourite parts was the side quests or side missions with a lot of the characters that you'd had interactions with in the past, and seeing more of their storyline or seeing how they've moved on with their lives and kind of like integrated into society. So like Miranda's looking for her sister, or Jack becomes mentor to a bunch of unruly biotic students, and she works perfectly in that role because, you know, she's not going to put up with any nonsense. And then Samara's looking for her only daughter because she doesn't want to, well, she's looking for 2 of her daughters because, you know, one of them dies on the mission, and it's kind of like seeing her caring side rather than her hunt for Morinth because Morinth didn't want to, you know, live in a monastery or curtail her urges, whereas the other 2 did. And it's like, I felt sad for her having to, you know, she felt she had to become a Justicar to right the wrong of her having a family, which is terrible. And then through our actions, making sure that she at least is able to, you know, see her daughter and not feel the need to kill herself.
Yes. No, I agree. I think a lot of the side characters wrapped up really well.
Yeah. And even like Jacob's mission, even though his like romance option problem in 3 was bad, his character mission, if you didn't romance him, was fine, and I thought was really cool. Like, he's starting a family and taking responsibility to be a good father, which his father wasn't to him. And then, you know, Thane, pretty much everybody gets a good, not a good conclusion, but like a reasonable conclusion to their stories, and everybody gets at least a little side quest, like Kasumi or Zaid. And being able to talk to them all at the end, if you manage to keep them all alive through the entire series, like before the final push, was nice. A nice little touch to start like a final goodbye.
Right, to all of these characters that you care about.
Yeah, your friends.
They're your friends, yeah. And I agree. I think even the ones that were more side characters like Zaid and Kasumi, they did get their little moment, you know? And I think I can't think of any of them that I feel like was not done well. I think that each one of them got to have their moment, and it was fitting.
Yeah, that's what I meant. It was a fitting moment. I didn't mean it was bad or good. I was trying to think of fitting. Like, it worked for them. Like, Zane dying. That made sense in his story. And then, if you make peace between the Geth and the Quarians, Legion giving his life so his people can be sentient, effectively, was within his character.
Yes.
And it's like, I must go to them. And it's like, Legion, no. And then Tally's like, I'm crying over again.
Yeah. And it was like each one of them got to, and you could really tell that the writers who did those stories took a lot of care and tailored them to flow from what you knew of their characters from the other games, you know, and everything fit together really well. And I really, really liked that. You know, Grunt, you're going and you're fighting the Rachni, and it's like, rawr, battle thing. And I felt like these missions really highlighted for me one of the strong points of Mass Effect 3, which was it did take into account the choices that you made in the other games. It didn't have a great effect on the overarching plot, but it had a lot of effect on the side missions
and the interactions with the characters that you'd had a great rapport with through 1 and 2.
Yeah, exactly. Like they could end up vastly different based on the interactions that you'd had with them in the past games, plus the interaction that you had with them in 3. And whereas in a lot of the cases that we talked about in the other ones where it was like, it felt very much like they didn't take all that stuff into account, or it didn't really matter. In these areas, it really did matter, and you got to see the effects of the choices that you had on the people that you affected.
And also, even with them not being present, like if Grunt was dead when you did the Rachni mission, they'd have another character in his place. And it was kind of like, that's kind of cool that they had the foresight to be like, well, Grunt could be dead at this point, so we should probably have this character put in.
Yeah, so that you could still do that mission, but that character, I think, would die.
He always dies if you leave him to defend. Like, if you leave the Rachni to die, then he'll live, I believe.
Yeah.
I know I've killed him once.
Yeah. Or like if Morden is dead, there's another scientist that takes his place. And
Paddock Wicks.
Right. And doesn't he like not do as good of a job or something?
No, he should be fine. I think yeah, he does as good of a job if you have Malin's data.
Right.
And
but if you don't...
And you can... I think the only difference is if you make him leave, like Morden, like if you convince him that the Genophage shouldn't be cured, you don't get a war asset for him.
Right.
But you do for Morden. But that's one of the, like, I guess, few situations that... Because I don't know how many people would have convinced Morden not to cure the Genophage, because they would have had to have some very specific parameters to do so. And then even less would probably have Wicks, because Morden would more than likely be alive, although he's the most squishy in the suicide mission.
Yeah, so I don't know, I think that it showed that they did take a lot of care with their character development. And it was nice that they did take into account the relationships that you'd had with people in the past and how that has affected them, and you really get to see that, and then depending on what you do or don't do with them in 3, that kind of determines the outcome. So like you could let Samara kill herself or not be able to convince her to stop, depending on what you've done. The ending of Miranda's quest line, she can survive that encounter with her father if you've trusted her and given her the codes and, that kind of stuff. But if you haven't, then she'll die.
Yeah, basically you have to tell her that Kai Lang's around, and she'll take precautions to keep herself alive.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, I liked a lot of those conclusions.
So did I.
Yep. I thought they were very good. Yeah, I like them all too. And I think that maybe leads us really nicely into some of the bigger side plots.
I would even say major plots.
Yeah, they were major plots, just not the main.
Yeah. So, like, curing the genophage, or peace between the Geth and the Quarians. Or ending Cerberus, I guess. That was another major one. That was kind of tied to the main plot. And was, pretty much the main plot, wasn't it? Because you were attempting to get the Praetorian VI back. Victory?
Yep.
It was either Victory or Vendetta, but I think Vendetta's the one that's in Javik's flashback.
Yeah. It's Victory.
Coolness. So yes.
Yes.
Those were some awesome missions.
Yes, they were. Talk about Tuchanka, I know you want to.
I know. It's awesome. So, you have a myriad of different choices leading up to that, where it's like, is Rex alive? Or is Reva in charge? Is Morden alive? Or is it Paddock Wicks? Did you save Malin's data? These all feed in from the other games, which I think is really cool to have that, mean something from the other games. Like, they may have had their problems with, dealing with us as gamers that had the other games before and not maybe catering to us in certain aspects, but in this case it worked really well, and it was awesome to see Morden at the end in our game deciding that his alteration of the genophage was wrong and that he should cure it, and somebody else might have gotten it wrong, and then Gilbert and Sullivan in the control room. Just, I don't know. Some of them were really well written.
Yeah.
Seeing Reeve get eaten by a thresher was quite fun too. Because he's just an idiot.
Yeah. Well, the thresher maw itself, the big thresher maw that comes out and destroys the Reaper, right?
Yeah.
God, that whole mission was just so good.
And then you go down into the catacombs and realise that the Krogan were actually at least had some form of advanced civilization in the past, and then they blew each other up with nuclear weapons because they're warlike, and then they get uplifted by the Solarians to defeat the Rachni, get neutered by the Praetorians and Solarians, and it's it feels like Rex to me is like the Shepherd is to the rest of the galaxy, in that he's a special individual that can direct the future of the Krogan down a path that means they aren't going to become warlike and try and retake the galaxy once the genophage is cured. And that's the potential Morden sees in it. And Eve. And it's and they even have a couple of the side missions feed into it too, so whether you get the Primarch's son and find out that there's a bomb and have to defuse it that was left by the Turians in case of, Krogan rebellion again, so that they could blow it up. And it's amazing, like, how different your war assets are depending on your actions, like whether you betray Rex, kill Morden, and then not cure the genophage, and then he finds out later and you end up killing him and he retracts his support, and you end up having, if he's still alive, Kirahi and the Solarians at Earth instead of the Krogans. So when you're walking through, you get to talk to him instead of Rex, which is interesting. It's like, oh, cool. So some of it's well written. It's just sad that the rest kind of isn't.
Yeah, and I would say it's a good portion of the game that is well written, because those side missions with that are tailored to each individual character, right? Like the Jack mission, the Miranda mission, the Jacob mission, the Samara mission, the Grunt mission. All of those things are done really well. These big major plot points that were sort of not the main plot, but major plot points like Tuchanka and Rannoch.
Yeah, and Surkesh, because that leads into Tuchanka with getting the female. That was well written.
And I also really liked Thessia, where you get to see that the Protheans were their gods, even though they didn't realize it. And that just makes a whole lot of sense. And then even to just see Thessia destroyed, I think was a good plot point.
And to realise that the Asari were the most advanced civilization in our galaxy, and they were just wiped out.
Yep. So that was really good. Of course, I loved the Rannoch stuff. I loved the Geth thing, where you learn about the Geth and how they were made and how they came to leave, and that conflict, and how it had been misunderstood, or misconstrued by the Quarians, right?
Because they didn't know. It's like 500 years in the past, so information was lost, and they didn't know that the Geth stopped, pursuing them. They thought, they're going to kill us all.
Yeah. And so it was very, very cool to see that, and then to be on Rannoch and with Tally and her getting a new home if you did it correctly, and and the whole thing with Legion and
Auntie Ron,
and Legion saying calling himself I or whatnot.
I must go to them.
Yeah, it was just so well done. And made perfect. It was perfect in continuity from 1 and 2,
Yes.
And so these are things that they did so well that, as you said, I think did cater to us fans who had played the other games, because I think those things would have still been cool if you hadn't played the other games, but they would not have had the impact that they did.
And even some of the little side missions, or parts of side missions. So on Mass Effect 2, you find a Krogan and an Asari on Ilium that are talking to each other, and then they turn up on Tuchanka, and they're going to have a family. And then you find her on the Citadel, and she's serving a shop. And then when you go on Grunt's mission to the Rachni, you find a data log from him to her, and he's a poetic Krogan, and he basically says I didn't deserve you, you are my flowers and our daughters, and something about you can build a wall around your garden with the bones from my broken body or something. And I thought that was nice that you were able to find that little bit of information about somebody that you'd already known, and then pass that on to his partner so that she knew that he'd gone. But it was sadness. But
But it gave a lot of those things a lot more impact, right? So because you could have found a data pad that said that, but you wouldn't have known that person, and it's that personal connection that enriches the story.
There's
right?
also some of the data newsfeed stuff that you get through on the terminal and the Normandy. I like that too, because there's certain characters that pop up in there. Like there's Calriga, who's like basically like Tally's bodyguard on Haystrom. And if you get Quarian support for like the Turian and Krogan on Palaven, he and his team go down fighting effectively Reaper forces, getting a radio tower back online, I think, for communication. And they were like, do you want to be relieved? And he was like, we've got too many suit ruptures, we're already gone. It was like, at least we know what happened to him. There's another guy as well from, I think it's Jack's Purgatory, Pragia, her loyalty mission, the guy that you meet in the room at the end. And if you choose to spare him, it turns out he defends a bunch of, I think it's like 5 or 6 transports that are getting kids off a world using his biotics. You also find out that damn Rana Thanoptris woman who acts as a secretary for Saren on Vermeer and then for the like warlord is actually an indoctrinated nutjob that like kills a bunch of people. So I always kill her now in any of the like playthroughs. Like, I'm on Vermeer, sorry, I know what you're going to do in the future, so bye.
Bye-bye! Yeah.
It's cool. It's nice that they... It's weird how they went into like detail with that kind of stuff. But then the like main plot is a bit flimsy.
Yeah.
In
and
its detail.
It's like they had all of these little nuances to it. And like the Conrad Werner stuff.
I love that.
That was awesome. And then the woman who was in the bar.
That saved him.
In one. Yep.
Jenna's sister. Because that's the mission.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Find out what happened to Jenna's sister. I've only played it recently. I should know what her name is. I'm really annoyed now.
I don't know. Well, yeah, it was her. So yeah, it's like Kaylee or Kelly or something. Katie. Who it comes and like saves Conrad or whatnot. So like they had all of these really nice little touches to them, and like with Kelly Chambers, she has to like change her identity or whatnot, and that kind of stuff. So they had a lot of these nice little things, whether it was something that you heard in a data log or like an email that you got that sort of wrapped up a little side storyline.
No, her name is Jenna. She's Rita's sister.
Her
name is Jenna.
Is Jenna. Cool. So, yeah, it was like they had a lot of these little nuances and whatnot, which is why I firmly believe that when people argue that, you know, your choices didn't matter, and I firmly disagree with that. I think your choices absolutely mattered.
They mattered throughout the game rather than impacting the ending. But if you think about the other Mass Effect games, the endings were never dependent on actions beforehand. You could play Renegade the entire way through Mass Effect 1 and then save the Council at the end.
Yeah.
It's like it wasn't dependent on your decisions throughout the series.
Right. And it's like all of those little choices didn't matter as much for like the suicide mission. It did matter whether you had done people's loyalty quests and then what positions you put them in and whatnot. I would say, but Mass Effect 2 is just like, for me, it's the pinnacle of how to do this kind of RPG and have your choices matter in the end.
And the character interaction was the best.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think the character interaction, as we've said, was really good in 3.
Yeah, but it had the benchmark of 2 to build on.
That's true. And so, I don't know. 2 was just such a special conglomeration of awesomeness that culminated in that final mission that was, to me, something that any game that's trying to do this kind of thing should aspire to. That they really just did not pull off in 3. But in terms of your choices making a difference, I think they absolutely made a difference. It's that difference between you're going to get to the ending regardless of the choices that you made, but the choices that you made still mattered along the way.
Yeah, because it wasn't like you were concluding the Genophage and the Geth-Quarian conflict, or I guess they're the major ones, or Thessia, at the end of the game. It was like they were already concluded in their portions partway through, or the Rachni, for example. Like, you couldn't have it all concluded at the end. It wouldn't have worked. It's like they had to come partway through the story for it to work the way it did. And the end is affected by your decisions, because your effective military strength is less if you don't have the allies.
Right.
So in a roundabout sort of way, it does affect your ending. Not in the way that people would have liked, but it's like, you can't make every single decision in these kind of games impact the ending without a prodigious amount of work.
Yes. Well, and there are some things that I think it wouldn't have made sense to have impacted the ending, because, like, how does whether or not I punch Conrad Werner affect whether or not we're going to beat the Reapers? It doesn't. Speaking
about Conrad Werner again, I did like the fact that they put in that he said, if you pulled a gun on me and you didn't, I'm sorry, I was confused. I think I was on some kind of medication, because there's a glitch in Mass Effect 2 where if you use the Paragon action, not Paragon action, but the Paragon conversation with him in 1, he'll always, for some reason it tags it as Renegade for whatever option you chose, so he always says that you pulled a gun in his face. So he's like, I'm sorry if I hallucinated that you pulled a gun in my face. And the Conrad Werner mission is one of the few times where it's like the little missions you did in Mass Effect 1 actually have an effect. They really don't give you more war assets. It's like 10 or something stupid. But it's like, you have to have collected at least 10 Matriarch's writings. So that's like one of the collectible missions in Mass Effect. You have to have talked to Hossel, which is one of the guys on, I think, Feros. You have to get his data for him. To keep Conrad alive, you have to have done the Jenna mission. Then you have to have bought the Elkos Combine license. It's like a bunch of different things you have to get, and it, like, to other players who hadn't have done the other games, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, they would have talked to Conrad Werner and been like, who are you? Like, and then talking to him for us with having done the other missions, going, oh, so they actually were worth doing just for this tiny conversation we have with Conrad Werner.
Right, yeah.
It's like, they mattered.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there were any other steps, but that little mission made me laugh. Had a little chuckle to myself. I was like, really, Conrad? You, of all people, are the one that's going to bring in a few of the little missions that we did in Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
He is the little man. He is the voice of the little man, right?
He really is.
Yeah.
And it's cool because he set up a I think he set up like an Help the Orphans Foundation or something.
Huh.
And
That's cool.
and he ended up spending all of the money that he had left evacuating them away from the Reapers.
That's awesome. Yay,
I think
Conrad.
I think he called the thing Shepherds is the name of his charity.
Aww.
And the fact he also has like a doctorate in dark energy research is just funny.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's very cool that a lot of the things that you did in the other games do have impact in 3. And you get to see the conclusions of them. And I think they're all really well done.
I also liked the inclusion of Balak from Bring Down the Sky in Mass Effect 1. Mm-hmm. That if you kept him alive, it actually helps.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of other ones.
Yeah. It's cool. So, I don't know. I think that it sort of annoys me when people say, "Oh, none of your choices mattered and whatever," because that isn't true at all to me.
It's like you built the story as you went along through Mass Effect 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it concluded, for the most part, well, in like conjunction with characters coming back from previous games and your squad mates.
Yeah. And so I don't know, I think that it was just the ending that makes it feel like your choices didn't matter, because you got one of 3 endings that felt very similar when the game first released. Right?
Yeah. And also it you know, trying not to be negative in our positive video.
Right.
It would have been nice to have seen more of our different war assets appearing at the end of the game. So, like, if you had Balak alive and he was in charge of the Terminus fleet, actually seeing them fighting would have been cool. Yeah,
it would have been. And I'm glad that they gave us at least some panels and stuff in the extended cut that shows you a little bit of like, well, this is what happened to this person. You know, this is what happened with these people. You know, not that it had to have that, but that was nice, you know, because the game was all about caring about these characters and these races, and not seeing anything that gave you some sort of closure with that felt a little bit like it gypped you. And so it was nice that they included that in the extended cut.
Agreed.
Any other stuff? The last thing that I have written down, well, I have 2 more things written down. One of them is the music. I like the music.
The music was great.
The music was great. That's all we need to really say.
It's like a future for the Krogan.
Yes.
Amazing.
Love that.
Actually, I would say another bit that I really did enjoy is when the fleets arrive. Mm-hmm. the piece of music, and also like the cinematic of all those ships just popping in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It had some really good set pieces.
Yes. I would say it did set pieces well.
Yep. And the music was very pretty. I liked it a lot. And so the last major thing that I had on here was the Citadel DLC.
Agreed.
So if you have anything else,
no, that's it. That's literally the last thing I have. I have Citadel DLC and Leviathan DLC. The Leviathan DLC was good, but nowhere near as good as
right. The Leviathan DLC was good in that it did give us a little bit more information about the main plot, which made it a little bit better.
Yeah. But it was like rolling a turd in glitter, so we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. But the Citadel DLC
was fan service extraordinaire.
Yes.
And it was brilliant and cheesy, and I don't know what else to say about it.
I mean, I think it was fan service, but it was like BioWare at their best, where they're not trying to tell this heady, overly intellectualized thing and trying to have it be sort of doom and gloom and bittersweet and dark and whatnot. It was them taking a bunch of characters that we liked and putting them into a fun situation and doing that.
It was like the after party before the end.
Mm-hmm. Well, it should have been post-game DLC, is what it should have been.
But your shepherd wasn't necessarily alive.
Right.
Sadly.
And so it couldn't be post-game DLC, but it felt very much like post-game DLC. Like, this is where we're going to celebrate, and, you know, the people who we've lost aren't here, but everybody else is going to, party. Yeah. You know? And have fun, and have nice little moments that suit each one of them, so,
Yeah, beating Vega with the, chest...
With the pull-ups. Yep. I was like, I will do how it was like it was some ridiculous number.
It was like
that took
100.
forever.
It was like 100 and something.
Yeah. It was like
And then
it was
Jack and
dumb.
her Varen.
Yep. And going to the virtual reality thing where you kill stuff, the little arena.
Yeah, and being able to have like Rex and Miranda and Jack back, at least for the combat in there, was nice.
Yep.
And Rex and his ice, because the females keep wanting to breed with him.
It's like, oh my god.
There's if you do the Garrus romance, you also have like a tango dance session with Garrus, which is cool.
That is amazing.
And I also saw the one for the Jack romance. You're in like the Armax arena, and then Shepard like pulls her into a kiss as a mech explodes in the background.
That's awesome.
And then I think the Miranda one, you go to like the casino with her, and she's in like a nice red dress.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cool, but it's just funny.
Yeah, and then the trainer has her little chess match thing with her ex.
Yeah, I'm just remembering certain parts of the party, like the different parties you could have, and the bit where like Edie's interrogating Trainer about like her actions towards her when she thought she was the VI.
Yeah.
And then Tally's sat on the chair with them, and Tally goes, "Oh, this cheese is really nice. I can't believe you got dextro cheese that actually has garlic and chives in it." And then she's like, "Wait a minute, this isn't dextrose cheese. I poisoned myself with cheese to get away from this conversation."
Yeah. Wait a minute, this isn't dextrose
It's like,
cheese.
to try and get away from the conversation, I didn't even realise I poisoned myself with cheese.
Yeah, because it was so
Induction.
painful, and poor Trainer was like, ugh.
Yeah, and the captain on deck dance moment, where it's like the generic little like shepherd dance. Captain on deck. There was another bit that appealed to me as well when they were doing the elements of the periodic table, and I was doing the next one along with them. I was like, "Homium," and such a nerd, and I was like, "Thanks, Tally."
Yep. I don't know, it was just, there were so many little things and little nuances that you could get, and they throw in a couple of different relationships between characters and whatnot, because doesn't like Zaid hit on Samara?
He hits on Samara. Ashley and Vega can end up either, I don't know whether they end up together as in a relationship, but I think they end up like one night stand. Your female Shepard can end up in a one night stand with Vega and Javik. Not together, but that would be
threesome.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yes. Anyway.
And then they have one of the things that I really liked was like they have in one of the versions you have like Miranda and Jack talking to each other, and Shepard's like, "I always knew that like this was really just sexual tension between the two of you guys," and they're like, "What? No way. No."
No.
Which is great.
One of my other favourite ones is when Garrus and Zaid are attempting to rewire the entire house to make it more defensible, and so that if another clone turns up, he'll get electrocuted in the hot tub. And then they realise that their plan would fail because he has the same DNA as Shepard does.
And they're like, "We're gonna kill Shepard, no."
Yeah, it's like we probably should take the booby traps out of the hot tub.
Oh my god. The discussion between the like biotics as to like what's more powerful, and then the biotics are like, "We're more powerful," and then the regular people
and they like lift Vega up.
Yeah.
The best bit for that is like, who's the most powerful biotic? And then it's like Caden goes, "I can reef," and everyone turns around and goes, "That's not normal." You shouldn't be able to reef as a human.
Yep. It's good.
Yep. There's so many different versions. Like,
yep.
And then Grunt's birthday. So my you know, my squad mates turned up because it's my birthday and got me out of the hospital. It's your birthday? No, I'm tank bred, you idiot. Keep up. So we went to the Krogan Memorial. And then CSEC turned up. And they, like, sprayed us with riot foam. But the foam didn't affect me because I was on fire. How were you on fire? Because I threw Wrinkle at the shuttle, obviously. It's like... And then I hijacked the shuttle and crashed it. And then it was like something to do with he ended up at a noodle place. How were the noodles? Slightly spicy. I love you, Grunt. It's just Grunt. It's funny.
Yeah. Oh my god. And just the main plot of that was fun as well, where it's the clone,
like having a clone.
And then the moment with Trainer and the toothbrush.
And then, wait a minute, they chucked out my space hamster. Sons of bitches.
I will destroy them!
And then, depending on which characters you have in the lift with you, there's a bit where, like, Rex and Tally are talking to each other, and Rex is like, do you remember that trick I showed you with the shotgun? And she's like, yes. And I was like, it's like Uncle Rex.
Yeah. It's just, it was cool to see all the different relationships between the characters in a way that you don't get to see in most of the other game. You know, you don't see them interacting that much. And it's nice to see the different friendships and relationships that were built between them.
Yeah, I think there's another bit where there's like press-ups and Kasumi's cheating because she's cloaked herself and sat on Vega's back so he can't beat Jacob.
That's amazing. Yeah, because she had the hots for Jacob.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm in mourning, I'm not dead.
Yep. Which was great.
And then Tally in the shower after, because it's in the one where she gets drunk, she's just sat there going, Omni-2. Got an Omni-2. How did I get an Omni-2? It's like a unicorn with a rainbow and explosions or something.
Yep.
Of course,
oh
Tally.
my god. Yeah. It was very good, and it was like, I mean, it was fan service, and I didn't mind that it was DLC either, because it was very, very much not necessary for the
end of the game.
For the overall game, but it was a really, really good DLC with a lot of great stuff in it.
I'm just thinking of Grunt as the doorman now. No, Shepard doesn't have a half-brother called Sheppy the Volus.
Yeah. Cool. So Citadel DLC was great. I enjoyed the Omega DLC, although it just didn't have a lot to do with anything.
Yeah, I enjoyed the Omega DLC too. It just felt very aside.
Yes. I mean, and it was. So... yeah. So Mass Effect 3, it had a lot of really, really good stuff in it.
Yeah, it's just, the trouble is that we get overwhelmed by the main story and the ending.
Yeah. Because it's the main story and the ending. You know,
it's like 80%
important.
of the game is good.
Yeah.
And then like 20% is just poorly written.
Mm-hmm. Poorly executed.
Poorly written, poorly executed.
And they had to augment everybody's boobs.
Oh, yeah. That's why Ashley was so stupid. Is because they took her brain matter out and pumped it into her boobs to make them bigger.
Yep. But anyway, we're not complaining here. We're saying that we really, really enjoyed the majority of Mass Effect 3. And I hope...
We only didn't like the bit that, took our small brains time to think about because we're stupid.
Yes. I don't know. People who give that argument is just, I mean, they're trolls, right? They're saying that we're wrong because we don't understand. And it's like, no, that's basically the Reaper's argument, right? Like, you can't understand us.
You're too dumb to understand us.
You're too dumb to understand us, so you're wrong. So, I don't know. I like to think that people who say, you guys are too dumb to understand the greatness of this ending, they're just indoctrinated. You know?
Yeah.
It's not really their fault. They're just indoctrinated. They're just indoctrinated by BioWare and EA. That's all. So,
by their
anyway.
hand signals at E3.
Yes, the hand signals. Oh my god, nobody knows what we're talking about now. So, the point is, these are really good things that I hope that they continue in Andromeda. I think it has a great legacy to build upon and a lot of really good stuff that I hope that they continue to do.
It just needs a well thought out story through the trilogy, if it's a trilogy. Right.
They need to have conclusions that they are building toward, and if they have an overarching conclusion, you know, I mean, I think it would be fine if they had, you know, each game as kind of its own plot and its own entity, and there's not necessarily a big overarching goal. I think that would be fine. But if they do have that big overarching plot, they need to make sure that it's thought out from the beginning. Because all of these other things that are great, I think they did have how we were going to cure the genophage in mind, you know? And so it flowed naturally. They did have the Rannoch stuff in mind. They did have some of the conclusions to some of the character arcs in mind. And that's why those were well done, is because they had an idea of where they were going with those things.
Yeah.
So,
I guess I just want a well planned out story.
Yep, that's executed well. It doesn't have to be something that is, you know, new and edgy and intellectual and whatever. It just needs to
work.
It just needs to work. It just needs to be something that's executed well. And I think that they can do that if they don't overreach again.
Agreed.
So, those are our thoughts on Mass Effect 3. Let us know some of the high points for you, some of the things that you really enjoyed about it, and what you are hoping they will carry on in Andromeda. Thanks for listening, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Goodbye.